Hey, it's Domain Dave, cheapwinefinder.com with a good New Year's Eve wine here. It's kind of a treat and it's kind of unexpected. I was checking out Trader Joe's Fearless Flyer. There hasn't been anything new there in a long time. There's wine showing up on there from 2 years ago. But to my surprise, they had the Henri Laffard Grand Reserve Brut Champagne for $24.99. Okay, cheap champagne. No, cheap grower champagne. Less than 5% of the champagnes coming to the United States are grower champagne. And one of the reasons why is they make them in smaller amount. What is a grower champagne? For the longest time, the big champagne houses had all the vineyards bottled up. Most of places like Dom Perignon and Chandon and whatever don't own a lot of vineyards. They have traditionally purchased grapes, long-term contracts with all the little growers there. So to have a wine with, from a bunch of different vineyards is common in Champagne. It's kind of like the reverse of most places. Bordeaux, Napa, you want it to be a single vineyard, single section. Champagne, very rarely, and the most expensive wines might be a single vineyard that the champagne house actually owns, but that's the exception, not the rule. And about 100 years ago, they let the growers make their own wine. you know, there was a big to do. They got all mad about it, and nowadays uh, grower champagnes are these little boutique champagnes. Now, I don't know how much of a boutique wine this is. Checking out this wine on the web, there wasn't much going, but most of the websites had a lot of Asian writing. Champagne is especially big in China and other places, so this might be an export wine that Trader Joe's managed to snag some for the United States, which is excellent. And at $24.99 for a legitimate grower champagne, a kind of boutique champagne on top of it, because if you buy a bottle of Dom this year, there's a million bottles of those every year being sold. You're not getting anything exclusive. It's good. I'm not complaining about that. But if you go to Trader Joe's and pick up a $25 one, you're getting something that's fairly exclusive. I'm going to take a sip. There are different classifications of negotiant wines. This is an NM, negotiant manipulant, which means that they bought the grapes from probably other grower producers. They bought it from somebody else, and then they improved the wine, which again is common. That's the way things are done there. This isn't any shortcut or way to make it cheaper, though it might be a little cheaper that way. But it's a common practice. You're not getting anything less. In the title, it says Grand Reserve, which isn't a approved champagne term. Grand Cru and those type of things are all. This is kind of like, Old Vine Zinfandel. There's no rule that says that Old Vine Zinfandel has to be any age at all. It's what they say it is, but it's generally accepted that it's over 40 years old, and it tends to be. The reputable Zinfandel producers make sure that's what they have. And with this Grand Reserve, because it's a non-vintage wine, and they're taking different vintages, and which they're buying, which they're doing. Supposedly, every wine is supposed to be older than 5 years old, which with champagne is good because the older it gets, the more the bubbles become incorporated, the creamier it gets. Age in champagne tends to raise the price. Now, since it's not an approved, and this is a Trader Joe's wine, and I don't know, and I don't read Chinese, so I can't figure out what's going on with the website. And the Bernard Remy is the grower champagne producer that made this, and they have their own wines, but I'm not sure if this has anything to do with those. This might be a specialty wine. So I can't really go by how they make their wines because it doesn't necessarily mean they made this the same way. I'm going to take another sip. It's a tasty champagne. It's dry. It's brut. It's very dry. I'm going to pour myself a little bit more because it's one of those things. It's got that acidity that asks you to, beckons you, beguiles you to take another sip, which is dangerous with champagne, especially one that's this affordable. Um, it has like kind of firm flavors, a little weight on the palate. This is not a flighty champagne at all. It's got. I actually wrote that the city was zesty, which is not a term I wouldn't necessarily use, but it worked. I mean, it does have that, and it's got really good length. It stays with you. Um, the best champagne I ever had disappeared in your mouth, had no length. As soon as you tasted it, it was gone. It was like a ghost of a champagne, which was great. And this one's got length, but it's good too. And that was a lot more expensive. This is $24.99, and it tastes delicious. Yeah, I mean, grower producer, only 5% of the market in the United States is grower producer. You could chase around your town to all the wine shops looking for an affordable grower producers. They're out there. But here you just stop by Trader Joe's and grab one off the shelf and get some orange chicken and what else too. So this is a treat for New Year's. This is legitimate, really good champagne. Great for toasting. If you're having a party, rather than spend for a couple spend $100 on two Doms or two Chandons, you can get four of these, and I think this is the way to go. So adios, keep it cheap. I got one more bubbly coming up before New Year's Eve, and I'll be talking to everybody. So this is the Henri Laffard Grand Reserve Brut Chardonnay. Adios, keep it cheap. I'll be talking to everybody in a couple of days. Bye bye.